Okay, very good. I think we have a number of persons on board, and others might join us over the next few moments or so. But I wanted to get started and say good morning, good afternoon to you all, and thank you for joining us. Today to have this first real interregional discussion about the technical assistance management systems, or TAMs. Perhaps as we get started, let's go around and do a round of introductions. Perhaps we start with those furthest away in Yapro.
Hello, this is David Parker, Regional Program Planning Chief, and eagerly interested participant to hear what other regions and headquarters are doing on this, because we're still in a very manual mode. Over to you. Thanks, Raquel.
Thank you. Rosa? I can see they're on the line, but perhaps they are still muted. Okay, Mina?
Hi, this is Marjan. I hope you can hear me. I'm a program specialist with Menaro, and really looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you for joining us, Marjan. And yes, we can hear you very well. Isaro? Do you have anyone from Izar? Okay, WCARO?
Hi, my name is Shahid Khan. I'm the ICT specialist for the regional office, and I've also been nominated as the focal point for SharePoint implementation in the region. So I am doing a deep diving into SharePoint, and I will also demonstrate today the stuff which we are trying to do in the region. And there is a lot of potential to use SharePoint, and it's part of our deal with the Microsoft. So I also look forward to listen from others and learn from their experiences and see how, as a team, we can make a difference.
Very good. Thank you so much, Shahid. I don't believe we have anyone from CE or from LACRO at this time. And in headquarters, it's myself, Raquel Wexler. I work in the field support unit in OAD, and my colleague Nuru is here providing IT tech support for us. So thank you very much. And I know Mark is there. I'm from ROSA.
Hi, Raquel. Yes, Mark here, Regional Program Planning Chief, and Almir Moriata, our IT Chief, and like all others, looking forward to a good, stimulating conversation on how we move TAMs forward. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mark and Almir. Okay, first I wanted to just do a very, very brief overview of TAMs, because I think we're all, at a different understanding of the TAM and what it's about and the various components. I wanted to say that, over the last few weeks and months, a number of regional offices and country offices have been asking us for an update on TAM and where are we going with this. And for that reason, the DED program sent out an update, which I'm not sure if you all have seen. It was sent to all headquarter division directors and regional directors and deputy regional directors, giving an update on the TAM to let everyone know that it has been funded and that we are going to be moving forward with this system over the coming weeks and months. The next phase is really to start, further consultations and working out the specifications and details. And last week I had the opportunity to speak with Shahid. I learned somewhat informally that they had been developing a SharePoint-based trip report system, and Shahid gave me a demo, and I realized, I really regretted that other people were not involved and not on that call with me, and so I think this is a great forum for sharing this kind of experience with a wider group. So just just to, very briefly, FSU, the Field Support Unit, we did an assessment last year that found that there is a need for a. I'm going to try to move this so that I'm looking at you all closer to the screen. That there really is a need for a common global system for managing technical assistance, because accessing and delivering technical assistance in UNICEF is not efficient or effective. The assessment found that our current trip reports, in headquarters in the field, we're all using different platforms, we're using different formats, and there's a real need for standardization. Further, and importantly, the recommendations that are related to missions are not shared. They're not available on any sort of platform, so that the recommendations given by a person on one mission would be available to others who would be going to visit that same country afterwards. So there's a real need for improved knowledge management around this. Also, there's a proliferation of TAM and TAM-like systems. We've recently learned, we've begun to compile with ITSS the number of known trip report systems in UNICEF, and we've come to a number of 43. And these are systems that are not Excel systems. These are systems that have been developed on Lotus Notes and other platforms. And so, we really need to find a way to be more effective and efficient with developing a common global system that can serve all. Also, technical assistance requests are sometimes they are forgotten. So if a country office makes a request of a regional office or of headquarters, they don't always get attended to. Further, regional technical assistance planning tools are insufficient. Oftentimes a regional office at the end of the year, the beginning of the following year, will send out Excel sheets in order to plan technical assistance requests over the following year, but these requests change incrementally during the course of the year, and it's very hard for regional offices to keep up with these incremental changes. Also, duplicative requests are sent between two regional offices and headquarters, and the response to these TA requests are not always well coordinated or timely. Further, UNICEF doesn't have an overview of technical assistance needs and gaps, nor the quality of response. We don't have an overview of technical assistance capacity shortfalls. And, our office is really asked for a horizontal means of sharing knowledge and experience, that a request for information for technical assistance need not always come vertically from a country office to regional office to headquarters, because there's knowledge and experience in different parts of the organization. So it's important to develop a system whereby these requests and response can be available for all. Country offices also noted the difficulty in efficiently accessing and identifying external vetted technical assistance expertise. So, for example, if one is looking for consultants at the country level, or even perhaps at the regional level, one has to send out a series of emails in order to identify a number of candidates who can, provide TA expertise in a given area. And country offices and regional offices are asking for self-help solutions, so very, very much to have systematized platforms and of some sort. So, in terms of recent developments, there was in 2012, ISARO received an audit recommendation. ISARO had developed a TAM system with limited functionalities and was looking to expand, and the audit said, asked headquarters to look into doing an assessment of the need for a global common TAM, and if it was deemed necessary to develop such a TAM as required. So FSU undertook this assessment last year, interviewing 40 different stakeholders at all levels of UNICEF, and this exercise was part of the ongoing E&E discussions at that time. At the end of last year, we developed a TAM business requirements paper to cost the system, because frankly we didn't know what it would cost, and in order to do that, we developed a a high-level functionalities, IT functionalities paper in conjunction with many of you all here, with the regional offices and ITSS. Further, in February of this year, the GMT had a discussion on TAM, and that's where it was initially green-lighted. Just to note, in the assessment, we were looking generally at field support, both program and operations, but at the GMT, it was decided that we would focus on technical assistance and focus on that for now, and then let's see over time if we would be shifting to other areas. And then as of May of this year, the TAM IT investment case was funded. So I just wanted to also give a brief overview of what the TAM comprises. So the initial idea as conceived by WCARO, the Asia Pacific Service Center, and LACRO back in 2011 were the features that you can see before you, that you would have a system that would include the technical assistance and oversight planning, that would include technical assistance request ticketing or logging, trip reports, and recommendations tracking linked to those reports, and a performance rating of TA received. It would also include regional client satisfaction surveys. As you know, the regional offices, they undertake these surveys, but they're all using different standards and questions and methods. So the idea was looking to try to standardize that a bit more. Management reports and dashboards linked to these systems, and then global TA forecasting ability based on trend analysis. And then finally, in the middle, you can see there is also a request to have an external global TA support facility, which would include LTAs and consultant rosters. As per the decision at the February GMT, the idea was to focus on three components: technical assistance request ticketing and response tracking, trip report, and results and recommendations tracking. Then the reason why I put in results is that the ED had recently mentioned that he does not want to have really long trip reports. He wants them to focus very much on the results of missions with key informations and the recommendations emerging from those missions. And then, of course, a repository of global vetted technical assistance expertise, and the above to be built on a SharePoint-based platform. So the next steps is to begin to share regional interagency TAM experience among regions and headquarters divisions, and then to develop detailed specifications and governance structure building on the high-level business requirements paper. So I don't know if we have any questions on that, or if we can, go ahead and proceed with the presentations. Hello? Okay. All right, very good. So let's go ahead. Shahid, no, Mark, I believe you all are going to proceed first. Oh, I think, hello, can you hear me? Let me move.
Yeah, we can hear you, Raquel. Do you want us to proceed?
Sure. Well, actually, I see we have a few other persons who have joined us from headquarters, perhaps, and from elsewhere. Perhaps you would like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Bilham. I'm representing WCARO.
Hello, Wilhelm. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this because we've been waiting for it for some time.
Very good. Thank you. Ivan, are you online?
What's happening? Oh, now I go this one? Okay.
Okay. Alma?
Yeah, hi. Just logged into. Mina and G are out, so I'm representing our group.
Very good. Thank you very much, Alma. All right. So I see Rosa is getting ready.
Do you want us to start?
Sure,
Raquel?
please go ahead, Mark. Thank you.
Can everyone see the page? the ROSA bulletin board? Okay. Okay, so first of all, thank you, Raquel, for the opportunity to present the country support database, and thanks, David, for the referral. The country support database that we're using in ROSA is actually something that we inherited from APSSC, as you already mentioned, Raquel. And it was something at the time that the regional director was very keen on continuing in order to be able to track what the regional office was doing, who it was working with, and whether we were keeping up with country support or country requests. Originally, when we designed it, we took the APSSC format and put it onto an Access database, anticipating that the TAMs would come along and that it should be easily transferable to the TAMs. Or to SharePoint. So it is now actually on a SharePoint platform, although the back end is still an Access database. And it is now posted on the ROSA, what we call the ROSA bulletin board, which you can now see in front of you. So as part of the presentation, I thought I'd just take you through some of the tabs and some of the features of the database. Okay, so to start, basically, we'll go into one of the sections here, and I'll go through some of the tabs to show you a little bit about what's going into the database and how it's used. So we start off basically with the section, the responsible section. As you can see, they're all laid out. And then we have identified individuals as responsible for taking action or following up on the support requests. These requests we send out in an Excel sheet using the same tabs and titles that we've got on the page, so that when we receive them from the country office, we can easily upload them to the database. And we usually send out the request to country offices end of December, mid-December, and we receive them back, let's say, early January to late January, and usually in time for us to use while we're going through the country office annual reports. So just to show you some of the tabs. So here, obviously, you have all of the countries in our region. Obviously, easier since we only have 8. Then you have the different requests submitted by the country offices. So here we're looking at child protection, and you can see the requests that were received. Quite often the requests come in and they are a bit sometimes overgeneral or vague and not specific enough. So we will often have to make the request a little bit more actionable. And we do this by asking section chiefs to go back to their respective regional advisors and to try and specify a little bit more what the country office is expecting. We also, here you see the status in terms of action, so we just make sure that we've received, we've inputted action or requests from the country offices. We have three sources in total in terms of action that we put in the database. The first is the request that we get from the country offices, as I've already explained. The second is while we're doing the country office annual review, going over the annual reports, if we notice things that we think we need to act upon, we will then input those also into the country support request database. And then the third source is during the course of the year, obviously requests come up that might not have been anticipated by the country office themselves or by the regional office, so we will add those requests as we go along. One lesson learned, of course, is that it's hard to get this done on a day-to-day basis. So what happens is usually between or just before the mid-year review and the end-year review, the section chiefs will upload any actions that they've taken that aren't included in this. So there you see the why we have made the source in terms of different actions. So this is how we show where we are in terms of receiving the work. This is the date. This is the result. This is what the section chiefs will fill in during the update of the database. This here, the country support initiation, refers to whether it was a country office initiated request or a request that we initiated. Now, this is the category of support. This is something that we struggled with a little bit. When we first inherited the system from APSS, it was clear that it was focused on technical assistance. However, we felt that technical assistance only covers a portion of what the regional office does and supports the country office. So we tried to develop categories that also included quality assurance and oversight. One challenge that we face is in the absence of an updated accountability framework, we are using categories of support that sometimes don't capture everything that the country office needs. So this is something I think if we were to proceed with a global TAMS framework, we would need to harmonize the different kinds of categories of support so that it covers everything but isn't too onerous and long. Then we have basically a status on where, oops, sorry, something happened here. Uh-oh. Where do we go? Hold on.
I want to go. Thank you. Thank you. Can you close the door? Can you close the door?
No, which one? This one here. Okay, sorry, folks.
No problem.
Sign it again. What happened on here? Okay, obviously we are experiencing technical difficulties. So what I will do is I will go to the back end of the database. So this is the access side. So rather than the SharePoint side. So over the different categories of action and results and where we stand. Now, in addition to that, we have what's called the dashboard, and this tries to encapsulate everything that's going on. So we would use this dashboard at the mid-year and end-year. Is this coming up? No, this isn't coming up. To look at where we stand with all of the requests. You can see, for example, how much of the action has been completed. You can see which countries made the most requests. You can see which sections received most requests and where we stand in terms of updating them. And then there's more of a graphic on each request and each section. You'll see right now that it's a lot of red because only 50% has been updated. So that we're in the midst of doing that right now as part of the mid-year and the mid-year review process. So I think I've probably talked a lot. I can go into a little bit more details on how we upload the data if you want, but maybe I'll just end with some lessons and discussion points. Some of the lessons we learned was first you have to keep it simple, asking the regional each section to fill it out. Obviously, it takes time and it requires an effort. So there's always a tendency to want to have too much information. So we try to be careful on what we ask so that we don't ask for too much. It's important, I think, that it's reviewed and used at the mid-year and end-year review so that it feeds into a decision-making process. One would not want to create a system or information gathering reporting system that doesn't feed into decisions. So this is something that we try to emphasize. I think we have a long way to go on how we input this kind of data, but it would be interesting to hear from other colleagues. The categories of support, I think, are something that require more discussion so that we cover everything that that the organization does. And yes, a final point is we follow up with the quality of the support that we provided through a client satisfaction survey that we send out at the end of the year. And our ROMP has indicators on the percentage of satisfaction amongst the clients by section and by regional office general. So let me stop there and hand it back to you, Raquel.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark, and your team there. It's very helpful to to see it, to have this live demo and to learn from your experience. And in fact, you had mentioned at the tail end the bit about data entry, and I was going to ask you a question about that, about how data is input into the system, who is managing the system, how many people you have working on it, the time frame that it takes to develop the system, and also I'm not sure to what, again, linked to the data entry, to what extent there's some sort of automation, for example, between the data that is there in the system and the development of dashboards. I don't know if it's updated at the same time, or what is manual versus what is automated. I don't know if there are other questions that the others would like to ask, so that you could answer in one or two goes.
Raquel, maybe if I may?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi, this is Ivan Donoso. I just wanted to ask, because here in the headquarters, the colleagues that work in the transition to the GSSE are looking on a tool. Actually, we pretty much have engaged already a company that will provide what it's called a customer relationship management in a generic manner, but more specifically they call it case management, which is pretty much a system which is very much known by all companies, all organizations, to manage this sort of needs and what you are discussing. So I was wondering whether, this is going to be a little bit either redundant, or we are not all going to profit from something which is, again, in the I imagine the business world, the case management or customer relationship management is very standard, and all that you have demonstrated is already, very common. So data entry and follows up and dashboards, automatic dashboards and all that. Not sure whether you have had the chance to see it at least. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Are there any other comments so far, or questions?
This is David. I would just chip in a little bit and counterpoint to Ivan's comment. Hi, Ivan. I think what's appealing about this is just the sheer hands-on accessibility, and let's compare it to vision. Because you can basically manage it as text. I mean, obviously, Mark is right that you can't, keeping it up to date on a daily basis and all of that can be a challenge. That can be dealt with, but it's the immediacy of the access database that really distinguishes it. I mean, it's sort of infinitely less alienating, frankly, than some of the other systems that are out there. But on the other hand, obviously, you're right. You don't want to have a lot of duplicative functionality around in UNICEF. But to me, just building on things that work, really is great. With all due respect to the global systems initiatives. Over.
Very good. If there are no other questions, Mark, perhaps you want to begin addressing some of the first questions on, how is this managed? To what extent is it automated? Is there, and also, is there any sort of guidance document that is available that you all have developed for yourself and for the country offices in your region?
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Raquel, and thanks, colleagues. Comments from colleagues. If Raquel, if you can make us presenter again, I can try and go
Sure.
back to the data input.
Sure. I didn't realize you had.
It up.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I have you as a presenter here. Hold on, Mark. Hold on. No, let me. I had to go back again. Mark. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Almir is telling me he has to be the presenter. So
I see. Okay, I'll make him the presenter. Okay,
got
got it.
systems going on here.
I got it. Okay, I think you're a presenter now.
Okay. So let me answer the questions anyway. In terms of data entry, basically the bulletin board has a download one. What's happening now?
Someone's phone ringing?
Someone's calling. I don't know. Someone's calling. I don't know who they're calling. Okay. Anyway, sorry, Raquel.
That's all right. Don't worry.
I'm not hearing anything.
Hi. Whoever's on the call, can they mute their mic? Whoever received the telephone call?
I can't go back to this. Okay. All right. So now I move computers.
Okay.
So this is the page on the bulletin board that I showed you, and in terms of editing, basically you highlight the action that you want to edit, and then you wait while it loads. Okay, so there you have the original requests, and this is all uploaded. So the category of support would already be filled out by the country office. Mm-hmm. The request for support would already be filled out by the country office. The section, the same as well. We would then designate who is responsible for action, and then the rest is filled in as a result by the section chiefs themselves. So in this case, this would be filled out by child protection, and this would be what they've done. So this is the update on July 20th, and it would say the activity pending. So for example, it would say whether we've completed the activity or it's still pending. It would say who it's been requested for, and also the approximate timing. And then this area here shows what the category of action has been, which would then feed into the data, the display page that we had showed you earlier. Now, there's also a way that you can do this by list form. So if you go to then data sheet or data sheet view, then you've got a complete section here. In this case, it's I think it's the adolescent section. So then you can fill in all of the columns at the same time. So rather than do one item or one action point at a time, you can do the whole, all of the requests that have been entered. So that's how we update it. Now, the responsibility for updating lies with the section chiefs. We are talking with the program assistant to try and use the program assistant to update the country support requests following missions, for example. That's something that needs further exploring. What happens, as I said before, is that most of the time it gets filled out before a mid-year or an end-year review. In terms of management, we had one database assistant in the planning section managing it, but obviously working very closely with the IT section. And we will be upgrading, I think, this post in order to tie this in also with the performance management and insight, so that we are trying to harmonize a little bit more the role of planning on keeping all of this together. In terms of the comments on user friendliness, yes, it's accessible, it's easily displayable, but I think we can do more to improve the user friendliness. But I would leave that up to the technicians in terms of what can be done. Obviously, we try to minimize as much as we can the time spent doing data entry. So I think that covers most of the questions. So back to you, Raquel.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark, for clarifying for all of us and walking us through, the steps for inputting information, because, of course, that is, one of the key questions is what is the demand, placed on individuals for using the system. And Yvonne, yes, your question regarding these client relationship systems. Yes, we're aware of these kind of systems, not only here within the UN, but we've also been talking with partners with UNFPA and UNDP, and I've also reached out to the World Bank regarding the GSSC. In fact, the ED had mentioned just about 10 days ago that he wants to find a way to make this all workable, knowing that we're moving towards a global shared services center. And in fact, I mean, it's a shame. My colleagues, here in here in the CMO, we'll try to bring them on board for subsequent discussions, because I think that's a very good point, that it would be very good to bring them in early on. Now, again, what we have been tasked to do is to look very much at technical assistance management, and not looking at the overall issues of operations and other type of support. But one could very well see how either system could serve dual purposes. So yeah, this is a concern that we share, and we'll work on this and with our CMO colleagues who are working on the Global Shared Services Center, to make sure that we're all aligned and we're not creating duplicative systems. Also, I just wanted to point out that this is one aspect of the TAM, the global ticketing system, but then there's also the other elements, which are the trip report and the recommendations tracking, as well as a common global, very workable roster of vetted technical assistance expertise that goes beyond the mere ticketing. So I don't know if there are any other comments or follow-up questions for Mark at this time, or for myself.
Hi, Raquel, this is Marjan from Menaro. May I ask a question?
Sure, please.
Okay. Well, thank you for this very clear presentation, very useful. And from our end, I can definitely see that it can be a very useful tool to have, because as Mark mentioned, also here we do track, the technical assistance, especially missions to country offices, and prepare reports for media reviews and annual reviews. And this is currently done manually. So every time we have to circulate an Excel sheets to our sections and asking them to provide us with a summary of their missions and the purpose and the results from that. So having it systematized like this, I think it would be definitely a very useful move forward. But what I'm wondering about is also linked to some of the discussions so far, in terms of, because now we have so many systems, and I see them as being very useful, and it's good to hear that you're trying to connect them all so that we are not duplicating. But what is the feedback from sections? Because the success of this kind of initiative depends so much on the sections' timely and quality input into the system. If we go too much into the detail of the different types of technical assistance provided, is that a risk to be too burdensome? Should we maybe limit the type of technical assistance to reviews of certain strategic documents, for example, and stop it there, as opposed to any kind of technical assistance request that we are receiving from country offices? And maybe this is just a kind of brainstorming in terms of whether we should just keep it at the strategic level or really keep track of every single technical assistance we work on. And another thing I wanted to ask is that, and maybe that's more directed to Raquel, is we in the MENARO, and I think also this is done in the CIS, if not in other regions, we have now a new modality for supporting country offices in the region, which is, we are calling it here regional leadership areas. And that is a more focused technical assistance support to groups of countries that are striving to achieve common results. For example, let's say on social protection reform in their country. So we leverage, for example, partnerships with institutions globally and provide high-level technical expertise. We may be having specific sessions for sharing lessons learned and whatnot with the countries that are participating in the specific regional leadership areas. So that would be something we think we would need to track to see how effective this modality is and whether this type of technical assistance is actually helping improve our capacity to deliver results for children. So is there, have you thought about that? Have you received such requests from other regional offices about this type of modality as well? So over.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much, Marjan. Regarding your first question, if to what extent should we look to limit the system or the scope of the request to a given area? I'm wondering, Mark, given that you all have practical, experience in implementing this, what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, thanks, Raquel. That gets to the issue that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation on the categories of support. Clearly, we've put categories in that reflect the service that the regional office does for country office. And so that would go into technical assistance, that would also go in terms of quality assurance, and we've also looked at in terms of leadership and so forth. It wouldn't cover meetings, perhaps, that are done more as a convening role, and it doesn't cover oversight, because that's not something the country office would request necessarily. So the categories of support, what we found most useful is, I think, breaking them down according to the strategies that are in the strategic plan. Mm-hmm. So let me see if I can go back to where we were in terms. No, I can't. I think we've lost the original. Oh no, here it is. Okay, hold on. I've got it. Here we go. So here you go. Here are the categories that we use in terms of support that we provide to country offices. So you'll see that advocacy, capacity development, knowledge management, policy development, these are all very much aligned to the strategic plan strategies. But then we've also got operations supports and HR support to show, obviously, the other components of country office service. And then we've got representation, which kind of deals a little bit with leadership and is closely related to advocacy. I think if we were to proceed with a global system, we would have to come up with a set of categories that would be limited but useful to everyone. I mean, I don't think there's a necessity on splitting hairs too much, because you can obviously go down into a great level of detail. The point comes back to how do you use the information? And for us, it would be a question of looking at where are the primary areas of support required, and also looking at are we delivering support in a quality manner. Yeah, so I think that gets a little bit to the categories. The question on how useful do the sections find this? Some sections actually use the requests from country offices and their own review of country office annual reports as the basis for all of the discussion with respective section chiefs. So it's very central to everything they do in terms of tracking their work, planning missions, and so forth. Other sections use it less often, but it can be very useful, I think, to manage and report on what you're doing and what you plan to do, and if you've missed anything. I mean, I think it's critical to go back over and see things that might have been forgotten or are no longer necessary. So back to you, Raquel.
Thank you, Mark. I see that Bilha has a question. Perhaps we'll take one more question, and then I'll answer the last part of Marjan's question, and then we'll proceed with WCARO's presentation. Bilha?
Hi, this is Rema actually. So
Rema.
Yes, hi, Raquel.
Hi.
Nice to talk to you after a long time.
You too.
And greetings to the team. I just had a question on how one could actually bifurcate some of these, because of the definitions that one gives for oversight or peer review or technical assistance. These can be, or even representation, can have different meanings and have different connotations. So having basically a vocabulary or a glossary of what we all mean by that, and the value added by, let's say, somebody going to a technical meeting and being an observer versus someone participating and giving a presentation versus a panel discussion or whatever it is. And those kind of things are needed, I think. And we need to agree on it at the global level. So that was one of the things. And of course, I also note that there is, it's a mixture of travel management and technical assistance management. And it might, at some point, need to distinguish what we want to track as technical assistance management versus the training and the capacity building for self, capacity building for the country globally on particular areas. So that's some of the things that I thought to add. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rima. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that we need to come to some sort of understanding of what do we mean by, by representation, by oversight. And in fact, going back to your comment, Mark, about oversight not being of course, something that is requested, that is demand-driven. Initially, as part of our assessment, it was felt by some regions that it would be good to even log and track oversight that is provided by regional offices as well, just so that there is an overview of the support being provided, as per technical assistance needs and requirements. So. Just very briefly, yes, go ahead, Mark.
No, just to comment on that comment, because I think this is a really central and important issue, and something raised quite frequently, which is the necessity for an accountability structure. I know we've said this many times and we've discussed times, but there has to be a common set of categories of support, quality assurance, and oversights, as I think Rima was mentioning. So that, I think, in order to really sharpen this tool, we would need to work in another area. In terms of quality or in terms of oversight, I think what we include in here is the human resources and operations, which frequently does do oversight. However, it gets a little bit more difficult in terms of programming oversight, how you put that into the database. So I think that's where it gets complicated. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And Marjan, just very briefly, because I know we're running on time here, regarding this is a CECIS experience. Yeah, we spent some time speaking with them about, I believe it's called their Regional Knowledge and Leadership Agenda, whereby that they have organized technical assistance around a number of key regional priority areas. And I think it's a very good and very interesting model. And in fact, I think a lot of their work also very much dovetails with a lot of the work that's being done with Ian's group in on knowledge management and what they're looking to do with communities of practice and so forth. So I see that very much linked to the work that they're doing in knowledge exchange and knowledge management, as well as the vetting of expert technical assistance as well. So we have spent some time speaking with them, and we will continue to draw what we can from their experience, which I think is also very good. And I'm also eager to learn more of Monaro's experience in this, because I didn't realize that you had begun to work with or adapt their experience in the region as well. So perhaps if we can segue into WCARO's demonstration of their trip report and recommendations system that they have recently developed. So over to Shahid.
Thank you. Let me start by sharing my desktop first. So I hope you people are able to see the desktop. Actually, in WCARO, I think it's coming up.
Yes.
So I will just take 1 minute. I see on this list of participants, there are people who are from the IT unit and there are people from program regarding SharePoint. I am the focal point now for the SharePoint implementation in the region. And honestly, I have started falling in love with this platform. It's not a program. It's nothing which you have to install on your machine. You only need Explorer, you need Excel, Word, you communicate. And we have seen a very good example from ROSA, how they migrated their access into the SharePoint. So SharePoint is such a huge platform with different technologies and with different products which we can make use of it. And you will see how I am making use of this technology. We started the beta for the trip report version, but as you know, my regional chief of ICT said that New York is looking into a global system, so he halted me. So I have calmed down on the development of this thing. But I would like to show you how this system works. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we
can.
You
have the menu. Okay, fine. So this is how we have created a look and feel like what we saw from the ROSA. That part is missing, like to have a look and feel of the system. So basically the trip report is after the travel has taken place. It is something which is created by the regional planning chief, because in our WCARO region there are countries which are in an emergency. For example, DRC, CAR, a lot of travel is done within the country, but there is no way to monitor the recommendations, and we are spending millions, and this is the most top priority by the offices, to have a system where they can monitor the recommendations and they can follow up, on the what happened, what was the trip report. So like Raquel was saying, that people do a trip report of 30 pages or 40 pages, which doesn't means it needs a lot of time to review. So what we have done is we have taken this trip report like a form. You fill the key information on that form, and then you follow up on that. The SharePoint has a very good feature. Basically, SharePoint allows you to do data like Excel. You have columns and rows, and you put the data. You saw what we see from the ROSA. It's like an Excel data format. So that is the beauty of SharePoint. So it's very simple to handle, and I will show you now how, for example, when we have a create trip report, and I'm using a form. This is not done by any consultant. It's done in-house by me. So it's basically what I am doing is in the library we have created a form. So the form you can access offline. You can have it on your computer. You can fill it and you can upload it. So the trip report format is in a form of a form. So here, if you look, all the menus have been giving a look and feel. Like here, instead of having menus, we have created menus here. So you can drop down and you can access the data. So it's on the spot. Okay, so it's opening the data form, but let me first take you to the data entry to see how the form looks like. And it's what we have done basically in the regional office. We was using a Word form, so we have converted the Word form and we have digitized it into the InfoPath forms. The SharePoint has InfoPath, and InfoPath nowadays it's part of our Windows. If you go to the all programs and you will see that. Let me go back. Okay, so this is the main screen which shows all the trip reports done here. So here, let me click on add a document to give you the look and feel of the form. As I told you, this form can be used in a browser. This can be used in InfoPath, which is a program which is now bundled with the Microsoft Office. So it's every UNICEF machine has it. So okay, now here I would like to tell you, like we are saying the trip report. We have in Vision the TA information. So I would like to grab that information from Vision. And yes, we can do it like nowadays we have the insight on the intranet. We have a data warehouse, and from New York they can help us to connect to the TA and pull the information from there. So here, for the time being, I don't have access to Vision or to the data warehouse. So let's try to create something on the TA. But otherwise, if you look, this information of TA plus the start date, end date, the username, and even the index number can be pulled from the Vision, and that's what we are waiting. For example, when we will work on this, and if you people like this concept of a form, we can connect it to the Vision or the data warehouse and pull the data directly from there. So here I would like to show you, for example, we create a TA, suppose 888-777-555, suppose, and then here you will see that you put the staff member name. For example, I can say I am doing it for Rima Vino, suppose, as a traveler, because anybody can create a report or form or fill a report for the name of the traveler. But in the background, the system will take care of that. For example, if I put Rima Vino here, you can filter the name. It comes up, so it's looking into the Active Directory. So what we are trying to do here is to minimize the data entry errors. Most of the time, if you give a free field to the users, they will make typo errors and stuff like that. So that we want to avoid. And then you have like your calendars to pull on. Now you see now this we have a link problem. Sometime the link breaks because it's in the New York system. It's on the SharePoint Teams site on the New York system. So here Just for example, I can say this is the date, then we have sections we can add. And this can also be linked to the sections which we can create in a central database, and we can pull the information on this site. For example, we can say she is from PM&E and the start date. So all these checks and balances are there. If I will try to put a date earlier than the 16, the system will not accept. It will say you cannot have it. So what I'm trying to say is that checks and balances are there on this. So then here, for example, like when we are talking about the countries, I used to have a drop-down list. But our KM, the knowledge manager, told me that limit it to 5 countries rather than, you are giving a list of 200 countries and people are ticking, because in one travel maximum maybe you will be traveling to 5 countries. So we worked on that, and then it's also a pull down menu. You can pull the country you are visiting, and then you can choose some other countries, for example, like that. Okay. So then this is not a calculated field, because the start date, end date, maybe the person is traveling 4 days official, 3 days leave. So this is actually the number of days spent on the mission. So it's not this, for example, this date minus that date. So it's not like that. It's something which is the real travel days. Then also, when I was designing this form, the knowledge manager told me to give the field should be like expandable. It should not be, you are typing in a paragraph and then they disappear, because it's not Word. It's a form. So I said, okay, we can do it. For example, you can type support. Suppose here to support to Conakry or whatever, Angola, etc. Then you can keep on adding spaces to make it more simpler for the user for data entry. And then here is whether the mission was successful or not, reach the objectives. Then you can type on your actual results, right?
Excuse me, Shahid, can everyone see? We can't see the presentation before us.
Really?
No. I'm wondering.
You're not seeing my screen?
No, not right now. It just went away a moment ago.
Really?
Maybe you have to reload it again.
Okay. It's there now? Can you see it now? Can you see it? Is it okay? Right. It should come. Is there something wrong? Let me stop and then again do it again.
We can see it now.
Is it coming?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's coming. Okay. So the form is, we were going into the form, but I think I will cover, for example, actual results. For actual results, it's an open field, so you can type in support to the office. do technical review. So stuff here you will see that what we are doing is we are entering the key recommendation and we are assigning to the staff. So for example, we can say to provide oversight to the country program. Here I can choose, for example, any person like David Parker, for example, I'm assigning, so he will get an email that it has been, and the due date, we can say it's next month, its priority is high. So we have kept it like priority high, low, or thing. So you can have, I also gave here the key recommendation unlimited entry, like a table, but our KM knowledge manager told me no, keep it to limited key recommendations, because even here, if you have more than one recommendation, you can keep on adding to that person. So if you have more than one recommendations for a person, you can add. And here to assign is you can have many users, but now I have limited to one, but you can assign it to a group, you can assign it to multiple people or a group. So in a group, we have to discuss with ITSS to allow to pull the groups from the Active Directory so that we can add them here. And then there was another recommendation from our regional chief that we should also have non-obligatory recommendations. The general recommendations, people should be able to enter those also here. So you can enter those. Let's say test 1, test 2, stuff like that. Then the persons met. I actually put again to pull the list from the Active Directory, but the office has decided that it should be a text field, so the people can can enter the names without verifying from the Active Directory, because it will not be used in the reports. So it's an open text field, so you can type whatever you want. And then this is regarding the mission, if it's with the regional office colleagues, it's a group mission or it's a standalone mission, so you can choose that into that. So here, this is the most important factor. It's based on the regional office management plan. So they have 16 or 17 or 13 regional office indicators, the management indicators. So when you click on the box, it will show you the indicator details. Like WCARO countries receive quality support, so it's easy to check mark those, and then we will be doing a report on those indicators. And then the purpose of travel, like it was for oversight or advisory or strategic partnership, you can choose multiple entries from there. And then I was when we were digitizing this form, we were thinking to have a paper-free environment, a paper-free trip report. So I added the signature here, but now we have to work with ITSS, because if we put the signature in the web browser, then we are coming from outside. If we are not in the UNICEF system, it will not be generating the Active Directory will not be generating the certificate. So we have to get the certificate authentication from the UNICEF server. So if we are logged into the UNICEF network, this thing is workable, but we have to sort out with this, and then this function will be available. You can click and then you can sign the certificate on that. Yeah. So here, for example, there was another request, like what Raquel was saying, that there is a report of 30 pages or 40 pages. So basically here we are capturing the key information from the trip report, but the person is allowed to add the report. See, now the network is bad. Oh, I lost the. Okay, let me just go quickly through the key recommendation to set it. So it will check from the this, then we can put the, so I think I will go fast a little bit so that
Sure
we
thing.
know. Yes. Okay, yeah, shorten this thing. So then you can choose your ROMP indicators to which this has contributed, the trip has contributed, and same for the purpose, you know, the regional office area where your regional office is focusing support to the. And then when here you have the option, you can attach as many files as you want. For example, if you have a big trip report, you can just add those trip reports and you can attach it with this. And it will allow you to add multiple trip reports if you want. You can just click on the add item button and you can keep on adding the reports. So here, for example, why we have put the finalize or a draft? Because if the report is not yet finalized or the key, the information is not complete, you can put it as draft and the system will not generate emails, alert messages. If you want system to generate messages, you say finalize and you say submit. The moment, where is this? Oh, data fields. Okay, sorry. There is the start date and end date of the mission. Let me add. Okay, so let me go and submit. The form was submitted successfully. So now, if you will see, there will be an entry here because, you know, like SharePoint basically is a page by page thing. So you have to refresh the page, but you will be able to see the trip report which I created is finalized, and this is the TA number. Here, you can even, you know, if you want, you can edit it in the browser or you can edit it into the info path. So that is the trip report comes here, and now I will show you that David must have got an email that the recommendation, the system in the background automatically creates the recommendation database, and you will see here that it says that here you will see that the priority is high and it is assigned to David Parker. So David will get an email and then he can update the status of this thing. But when we were doing the follow-up on the recommendations, we have not make it very tight. Tight in a sense means it's not only limited to David Parker to connect and can update the information. Maybe the assistant can update. So if you look at this stage, here is because what I am doing is I am creating menus, so wherever you are, you have access to the menu. So update recommendation status, anybody can do it, although it is assigned to David Parker. But see, I am updating, I am saying okay, 50% done, right? We are on track. 50% suppose done. Why I put percentage? Because it gives you a very clear picture where we are. It's done, you know, you say in progress and following up, and this thing doesn't give you that impression on the report or when you are doing graphs or maps, so things. So see, when I will save this entry, the system will automatically create a history of that. See, here it says it's 50% done and priority was normal. This is the due date. And if the due date is due, the system will send automatic emails, because in the background, I am running the workflows of SharePoint. SharePoint as a feature. Let me go again to show you that, for example, I made the change on behalf of David Parker because the task was assigned to Parker. But if you see the history, it will show you that Shahid has done, Shahid Khan on this date and time has done. So it is keeping the history of those changes. So the system is very open. Anybody, assistant, can modify the recommendation status, but you will have the history. But we can make it tight. If we want, we can say, okay, David Parker is assigned. Like, for example, when we will take the sensitive recommendations, because there is a request that I should also add sensitive recommendations on the form. So the sensitive recommendations will only be accessible to the person who has created that report and the person who has been assigned to. So that will not be accessible to other people in the office. So here you see that it keeps the track of that. So now, for example, whatever we are doing it in SharePoint. When we look into the BI reporting, it's not something outside the SharePoint. So the report, for example, the most important, there is a list of things I can show you. This is the recommendation done by the knowledge manager for the regional office that we should have a report on the submission rate, how many TAs have been TAs done versus the trip reports. So I'm working on that. Once I get a link to the data warehouse or to the vision, we can pull and we can do the comparison that this TAs took place and these are the reports related to those TAs. And the mission by sections also, because we are pulling, we are entering the sections into our form. So by destinations, by countries, then you can have missions on the map. I will show you all these have been added, but now I stopped its development because we are waiting that something will come from headquarters. So but if you like it, I can still work on that. And you see now in the ROMP, so you just click on that and we are running the report services of SharePoint. So you can do the business intelligence reports using the SharePoint. The link from WCARO is a little bit slow, but you will see it's trying here. If you see, it's trying to load the report. So here you see it's showing green that this TA, for example, 11113 was contributing to the survival during delivery, this 1.1 result, and then protected for malnutrition, whatever. So you will have a table with green and red, so means you will have a picture that how it is done. But this can be plotted the way you want it. So I still have to work with the knowledge manager to guide me how we can improve this report. So this is one report. Then you can have it, the trip report by recommendations by staff. For example, you want to know how many recommendations are assigned to a particular staff, you will be able to do it through this. And it's on the central server, so it's nothing in the regional office. It's all in New York. So you see here, if I drop down the person, we can choose select all, or I can only focus on few, and I can say apply. Then I will have a report only for the selected people. And SharePoint is such a powerful tool. It also allows you to take maps. You know, if you have map shapes, we have it for our region. So you can add those maps and plot the data against it. So see here, now all this trip report by actions, by people, it's all there. So you can see the priority is high and how much percentage has been done, and it do with the coloring and all that. So this also helps for that. So this is the reporting part. Then I told you about the maps, because people are really interested to have a map to see where the travel took place, and then you can embed a lot of information into your map. So here, because the data entry done is very low, it's only me who is doing the data entry into the system, but the system is capable of showing number of TAs based on areas. For example, when you see a red one, it means there is a travel is from 1 to 2, it's high. Here it is low, or it's 1. So, but you can plot your data the way you want it, and you can also drill down on the data. I have not done here. For example, if we say 2 travels related to which ROMP action, you will click on that and it will show you. So you can build your reports on your maps also. So this is just a beta version, but it's like a proof of concept. Once the people accept it, then we can build it, and it's all, you see the look and feel. It's not showing it like underscore fields. It's giving you a look like a with a menu. You are going back and forth, and you do like that. So I think the only thing we have to, if it's accepted, because I am spending a lot of time in the development of SharePoint, and that is my task. So I can help other region offices to modify their look and feel even, all is done is in the designer, and New York gave me the rights, so I'm using the designer to make it user friendly. So, but this can be very easily, it's an easily adaptable system. So for example, I told you you can have the form on your screen. For example, here the trip report form, and you can fill it anytime, anywhere you can fill it. The only thing is the digital signature. If you are filling outside the UNICEF network, then you will have an issue. Then we have to talk with ITSS to allow to authenticate users who are not coming from the UNICEF network or not on the UNICEF machine. You can be filling a form on your smartphone or things on the mobile device. That can be sorted out. It's not a big deal. So I think that's it from my side. And then there is a lot of improvement which can be done. So we are willing to do.
Great. Thank you so much, Shahid. I understand that you all have been developing this within a very short period of time, only 2 months or so. Yeah. I'm wondering, for the group, are there any questions for Shahid on the system that they've been developing? Or any comments?
But the email did not come to David? You're saying that?
Right. Is he still on? I can't see.
Maybe just no, it has not come. I'm continuously checking my Outlook.
Okay. It will come.
Eagerly awaiting.
It should come. Yeah, because we saw there that it is assigned to you in the background. We are doing the workflow system of the SharePoint, so it goes. I tested with Raquel. She got it last time. When we were
David, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's sort of this will make the entry of information into a system with a lot of intrinsic analysis much, quite straightforward and very appealing. Just a question about at what level is it reviewed, overseen, managed? How does it relate to kind of normal section meeting kinds of discussions? I mean, I guess just the sort of an issue in the kind of E&E perspective of not wanting to overmanage things, and how to focus on the sort of distilled core issues from a management point of view, in addition to it being an extraordinary sort of information capture and warehousing thing, which none of us have. Really impressive for that. Over.
Perhaps we'll take one more question. Rima, do you have a question for Shahid? Or Bilha? Okay. All right. So Shahid, perhaps you go ahead and you can go ahead and answer David's question.
Yeah, David, here means, for example, in the regional office and in many country offices, like I told you, we are in emergency, a lot of travel is taking place, and they have a focal point. There is a person who is just monitoring and presenting to the management. You are right that we have to have a system where management can click and see, but like in DRC, there is a full-time, means a focal point. She is collecting all the travels done, then putting it into different formats and presenting to the management. So this is how it is done. Even here, if you look at my screen, for example, that's why we have a checked out feature. Like, for example, when the trip report will be submitted, Umar Endao, this guy is the focal point for managing and reporting to the regional director on the status of travels and stuff like that. So I don't know, means in the regional office, and for the time being, because it's a top priority, the trip report recommendation and things are top priority, and I think every office where I have visited, they have focal point solely responsible for presenting data in the management meetings and in the RMTs. They are doing it, and that's why we have. And I am working with this guy to develop something and on this thing. So I don't know whether I was able to answer your question. Is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, very good. I mean, I think especially this about the emergency issues. I mean, when you have a lot of countries keeping track, it's good for the framing, but in terms of the urgency and priority for emergencies, I completely agree with you. There's certainly, in your region, but certainly ours and all of them, that is good. And I guess the issue would also be if there's a way to pitch this towards EMOPs a little bit. When I think of L3 cases, I think they would love it. Over.
Yeah, I think it means, to be very honest, means I like I said in the beginning, I start loving SharePoint because, it's a platform which we are paying $1 million to Microsoft. Now we have to justify the use of this platform. And what lot of things have been done in the regions can be incorporated. Like we saw from ROSA, something done on access, we can migrate it, and they have already migrated it. We can change the look and feel. So I would suggest it's the first time we are talking with each other. Why don't we build a team, which works on these things rather than, we wait for consultants to come. And then, I always believe, David, that consultant will borrow your watch to tell you the time, which we can do ourselves, and now the IT has to play a role for ICT, for development, for innovations, and we have less things to manage in our offices. So I think it's the time where we make a team from our country offices and try to deliver something which is easily manageable and usable to the users.
Great, thank
you. This is a
you.
platform, yeah.
Thank you, Shahid. I see there's a comment from Bilha who would like to know if the country office, the requester for TA support, can comment or close a recommendation, such as if the regional office visits a country on a country office's request.
Yeah, because the recommendation part, like I was explaining, it's a very open system. We are not limiting it. For example, if it is assigned to a person, only that person will do it. Anybody can do it as long as it is recorded, in the history. So that can be done. It can be closed, or it can be, but it can be monitored. It depends how conditions we want to put on, or the limits we want to put on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the system for the time being is designed in a manner that the recommendations are open. You can add, but we can put a condition if it's assigned to David, only David will be able to update, or he can delegate it to some people if he's on leave to update. So that's possible in SharePoint. It's possible.
Okay, and then she just responded again.
Yeah, beneficiary again. Yeah, because, in the beginning, if, for example, if I am creating a report on behalf of somebody, that person will got an email, that this person has created a record for you. But if you want, we can put the conditions that it can only be modified by the traveler. It's possible. But when I was in DRC, because, you know, like when we are thinking, we have to think globally. When you have emergency, people are not always there. They are on R&R, they are traveling, they are back and forth. So they want to keep these kinds of things very open. Rather than delegating, you know, if I delegated to somebody, I went on my R&R, then other person go on R&R, nothing happened to those recommendations. So it can be a very tight system. It can be flexible. It
Right.
depends
It
how.
depends on the
Yeah,
specifications that
yeah,
you design
yeah,
and how you design it.
yeah,
Listen,
yeah,
I'm mindful of the time. You know,
yeah,
now because we've gone about an hour and a half,
yeah,
and
more, yeah,
which is great. This has been so interesting, and I'm
yeah.
really thankful to both to Rosa and WCARO for sharing your experiences, because I think it's really good that we share these very good examples within a wider group and help propel not only the discussions but to concretize this and to begin to move forward with system development and governance and so forth.
Yeah.
I see that David, you had an initial question some time ago, or a comment that you wanted to make from a regional office management perspective. I don't know if you would like to do so now.
Thanks, and I'm also mindful of the time, but just wanted to come back to Mark's, but this is very much given lots more perspective by Shahid's presentation as well. The link with functions is important. Number one, even in the lack of an accountabilities framework sort of vetted by the board, there have been exercises over the years, and the functions that have come out, frankly, I think between the two presentations, with a tiny bit more fine tuning, are pretty darn robust in terms of, you know, regional office accountabilities, and in particular the regional directors' accountabilities. And so I think that is really valuable, and frankly, just with a tiny bit more, I think that really is something that can and hopefully be firmed up a little bit. Raquel, my real concern from this is really the real difficulty to separate out TA, because what Mark demonstrated and what the recommendation tracking feature from Shahid demonstrated is that it's really about managing what UNICEF does. There's an importance for TA, and that can be, you know, placed on some very high pedestals. But this was, of course, the issue with APSSC, was how do you separate out the technical function when the rest of the regional office was doing quality assurance, oversight, and a whole lot of other, you know, the rest of that list. While we recognize that any visit is multiple purpose, there is the real question is the regional office managing its results? TA is a very special area. I don't even know who's responsible for TA in headquarters.
Right.
There certainly isn't one person in our office. Yet it's the link between TA as for program purposes with all the other elements that's important. In all cases, it would be great to be able to link to country program milestones. I know that a lot of the text fields do, but for us, you know, well over a half of any of our missions relate to milestone kind of processes. And that too is a point where the clustering that Shahid referred to in relation to emergencies, I'm realizing could have a lot of value to sort of pull all the pieces together. I really liked from Mark's the fact that it's not just a request customer client kind of thing, but the issue that the regional office brings things in as well, or even from farther afield. So it really becomes a whole country support management system that, linked with the back end of the recommendation management system from Shahid, you know, really is quite fully featured. But just questions for a future round. I know you've flagged these before, but what do you do about remote assistance? Going to the Pacific costs $10,000 for a week's mission. Yet, you know, you can cover 2/3 of anything you do just by a series of remote transactions, whereas going to Cambodia is just one overnight, you know, nothing, back the same day. And so just quad trip isn't really the issue. I know there have been lots of time use tracking kinds of stuff, and we don't want people pinned to their desks, you know, writing down the results from every Skype call. But at the same time, there is something that we need to get away from just the tripness, at least in some regions. And I think there, also I like, and I think it's really worth noting the sensitive recommendations category from Shahid. I mean, even there, even still, you might not want to write down some of the things, but the fact that you're able to link into kind of some of the real life management elements. And in both, I really like that, but you had operations and HR categories that can at least be flagged for follow-up. I just have to say I'm very, very impressed by both of these systems. Thanks.
Thank you, David, and I equally so. I think a lot of the functionalities that had been initially described in the business requirements document that was developed in December are met really by these two systems. So I'm really excited about exploring further how these can be used and adapted more at a global level, and this is just the beginning of a conversation, so even though, we'll be looking to wrap this up soon, I'm hoping that we can continue to share this type of experience and good examples that are out there, so, that we can move forward and build the best system possible based on your regional and country experience. So on that, perhaps I'll segue to wrap up. I just want to let you all know that we started a Yammer TAM group, and I believe you all are all now part of this group, those of you who are on Yammer, and this is an excellent platform for sharing experience. I'm on it quite a bit, posting updates and so forth, so I just wanted to let you all know about that. If there are other regions that are interested in sharing either regional or country office experience with any of the aspects of the TAM, the three components, trip reports, recommendations tracking, or ticketing, please let me know, because I think it would be great to continue these kind of discussions. Also, I learned a few weeks ago, on the consultant roster that LACRO was actually looking to build a TA roster. So we've been working together. They found a UNDP LAC model that they're very excited about and shared it with me, and I'll share it also in that and the TAM Yammer group, because it's a very simple platform. We've begun to work with it and to adapt it with ITSS here in New York, but I'd be curious to get your thoughts. And we're also, and very much, it's been driven very much by the regions. And so, I'm also mindful that we need to continue to bring in PD and make sure that they're in all of these discussions and developments. Also for this recording, this has been recorded, so I have the link available so that we can share with all. And one other thing I just wanted to note, I believe we have TAM focal points for all the regions, although there's been some staff movements in Izaro and in Minaro, so we may need to follow up with you all to find to discern who those focal points would be from those regions. So I don't know if there are any last comments or questions, but I'd like to thank you all very much for the time and for this. Hold on, let me see. Did anybody else say something? This has been a really excellent experience to share perspectives, and I hope we will continue to do so, via this fora or otherwise over email or Yammer. Any comments? Thank you so much. I see we're getting some last comments here. We can continue our conversation on our LLA. Very good. Okay, very good, Marjan. Certainly will. Do we have a plan that we can share among the group with milestones? Yes, and timelines. Country office seemed most interested. Indeed, we can begin to put that together. One last note on the plan. We've developed a project charter for the TAM, which is required in order to get the funding for this project. However, even though it's developed, it's a little bit on hold until we have the new DED for the field results group on board. So we'll be probably moving formally with the development of the milestones and the planning framework only after the DED is on board. So in the meantime, we're doing the consultation, but I can still map out some milestones for you all, so that and see if that works for you all in the regions. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you all very much. Okay. Have a good evening or good afternoon wherever you are.